is Lloyd Owusu, who's come from Brentford. He's going to play out front now. He's had a few problems with injuries. Done a free transfer back in the first season. 3 times Brentford's top scorer. And he's replaced Ian Hendon. So a change of approach here. Burrows taking the throw. No question of an injury for Hendon. It is just a tactical change for Wednesday to bring on Owusu. There's Kuchi and then Knight. Presumably will just be playing off them now. Good ball in towards Westwood. That was one shot there. Kuchi off the post! But in from Owusu! Oh, what an entrance! Oh, it's 72 minutes. Lloyd Owusu, who's only just come on the field, has given Sheffield Wednesday the advantage in the Steel City Derby, which has finally swung their way.
This was not meant to happen. This could not happen. This is happening.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Coach's Son. Joining us today is Lloyd Owusu, a fan favourite, from Brentford, where he scored over 80 goals and earned a spot in their Hall of Fame. He also played for clubs like Reading and Sheffield Wednesday, and even represented Ghana during their push during the 2006 World Cup. From big goals to big moments, Lloyd, welcome to The Coach's Son.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Steve. Looking forward to being on air, and thank you for the invite.
So what we like to do, Lloyd, when we have guests on is sort of like to give you the floor. So tell us a little about your upbringing and how football sort of came into your life.
Yeah, my upbringing, I come from a Ghanaian background, as you can probably imagine, African family, very traditional in regards of making sure you do the right thing, respect, be honest, make sure you work hard at school, do your academics, and just be the best person you can be, you know. I mean, I grew up in an area called Slough, which is 25-30 minutes from central London. Pretty notorious sort of area. A lot of crime was happening back in my days when I was growing up. But then on the flip side, because I knew what I wanted, I had boys who, as I call them sort of wrong ones. They were sort of doing the wrong thing, and I was sort of maybe potentially going down that path. But because my boys, they knew that I had something about me in regards to football, they would make sure that I would go on the right path, you know. So them lot went left and I went right. And that's how it really started, you know, with my footballing career. Mum and Dad always encouraged us, to do and enjoy the sport. But again, it was all about making sure that we worked hard at school and done the right things. So my footballing journey started off as a young kid, about 10 years old. I wasn't too much into football, really. I was more an athlete. I was more in athletics. I just loved my sprinting. So I was playing junior football from about 10, 11, 12, just casual Sunday, just regular recreational grassroots football. And then when I got to about 14, 15, that's when it sort of say, you know what, you might have a chance here. But then I was playing for Crystal Palace. I got a year at Crystal Palace as a schoolboy. Back in England, they used to have a thing called Centre of Excellences and schoolboy. So once you've done a Centre of Excellence, if you were good enough, you'd get a schoolboy contract, which would be like for a year, and then that would go. Then from that year, you'd go into a scholarship, a YTS, it used to be called youth scheme. But obviously, unfortunately for myself, I never made it at Crystal Palace, and then I went back into non-league football, and sort of from there, you could say I went around the hard way to become a pro. So I don't regret anything that's happened in my career.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, that would be something to be proud of as well, right? You didn't have it easy. Took the hard route there. I want to touch on your background a bit. Obviously, I'm a Greek Australian, Adam's an Italian Australian. We know football's so big in those countries. Football's obviously so big in Ghana as well, and across all of Africa. Is there, have you gone there at all? And did you see firsthand how big football is in Africa?
Yeah. Well, I was born and bred in UK, so my Ghanaian roots is obviously just through mum and dad. So I first went to Ghana when I was like 10 years old, and then I didn't return there for another 10 years. To be fair, I didn't return back there probably. And then the last I went back was in 2021. I think I went back to Ghana. So obviously, as you can imagine, that whole gap of generation a lot has changed. But from my football perspective that way, I never ever really would have even thought of Ghana, even for me to be to represent my national club, country. To be fair, I mean, not that I ever thought I'd play for England, because obviously I never made it to the top level in England, but I never even think about my national country. But then when they come calling, you've got to sort of think, you know what, it's worthwhile. And luckily for myself, I got that called up to Ghana.
Well, you touched on it just then when you were touching on your football journey at the beginning about your time at Crystal Palace. Being at such a young age, did you feel that competitive side that was there, or did you have confidence and back yourself to thinking that you'd make it onto the next stage?
Yeah, always. That's one thing a lot of people say about Lloydie. Although I was like, out of all my crew, my boys, my footballing boys growing up, I had a few boys. I had a guy, one of my best mates, Gary Byrne. He was at Crystal Palace with me as well, but he was technically a great player. But I mean, he never made it as well. But I was never one of the greatest players in my youth generation of age groups growing up. But with what everyone said about Lloyd Owusu, was Lloyd Owusu's got a mentality. It's just got a different mentality. Like I was just mentally strong. Like anything I'd done, I'd just done it with 110%. And I would be doing that extra work when there'll be boys doing the wrong thing, where I'll just be out in the park or out in the streets outside the house until the lights go off outside, you know. So my mentality was there, but my technical ability wasn't, like I said, I wasn't the greatest, but the work ethic was probably what got me to make me have a 20-year professional career.
Yeah, I was going to say that obviously you had a very impressive career, 15 plus seasons. You've just mentioned 20 years at such a high level. And I think we kind of already know what the answer is going to be here, but was there a particular club that, you know, holds something close to your heart?
Yeah, like as everyone knows, Brentford, my club, you know, that's my club, that's my love. They're the ones who gave me the opportunity from non-league football to become a professional. So I owe a lot to them. I had 4 great years originally there, and then another 2 after later on in my career. But my first 4 years at Brentford was just, yeah, for me it was Royal Rover stuff. It was a dream come true. A young boy from Slough making his debut for Slough Town, done so well for them, and then for Brentford to go and buy me, and then to be able to say I'm a professional footballer. And my first year, I can't ask for anything better. So for me as a player coming from non-league, I'm expecting to go into the trenches as a novice player who's just going to buy this trade, just go and play in a reserve team and learn, and maybe get the odd occasion, get a call up to the first team. That was my honest process and my thought process. But no, I looked at 12 months later, I ended up playing 56 games, every single game of the league and cup. I scored 25 goals, leading goal scorer in the league, 3 hat-tricks, and ended up winning the championship in his first year professional. It was like, how does that even happen, you know? It was just like word of over stuff. It was just a dream come true, and it was just a pleasure to have the opportunity to do that. And then also to score a winning goal to win the league, and it all came down to the last game of the season. It was just like, it was mental, just a mental year for me.
When you talk about it now, Lloyd, it seems like you look back on it at such fond and great memories. I'm always curious to know, because other footballers that have sort of made it have said when they're in that moment and they've made it to the big leagues, that they don't really take it in. You're just taking a day at a time, and you're thinking, okay, I need to focus on the next game. You're not taking to what you've actually accomplished. Is that something what you felt at that young age, or it wasn't until you after sort of finished up that you realised everything?
Yeah, I mean, after you finish, after, like I said, you can see the expression on my face after. I think when I go back, it's like, you know what I mean, 25, nearly 20 years, more than 25 years ago, I've looked back and wow, it felt like yesterday, you know. But like I said, take every game as it comes. But it just felt like yesterday, scoring that goal to win against Cambridge, to win the league, and just fond memories. It's just things that can never be taken away from me. That's the great thing I love about it.
So with your time at Brentford, you played under, or even throughout your whole career, you played under some great managers, and there was a fair few. Steve Coppell was a manager at Brentford and Reading as well. You scored an impressive 36 goals under him. How did you find your time with Steve? And, you know, two-parter of this question, did you have a favourite manager that you sort of worked under as well?
For me, he sums it up, to be fair. He came to Brentford my final season and my first spell there. And for me, best manager I've played under, and reason being, he's a man manager. Someone who's just a tactically genius. He was bringing video analysis back then when no one was really doing it. I remember he used to go home to get at them, it was videotapes, and he'd go and chop them up, and we'd sit on a Friday before a game and watch the weaknesses and strengths of other teams. Like, I would never seen anything like that. And then just the way he was so calm, his persona was just cool and calm and collected, and he would just like talk to you as like he'd find out about you, and just want to know all about you. And you just felt as a player, that's all you want. Someone showing you love. And the way he had us that's last season, or first season and last season that he had us, it was just brilliant. He was a great manager. So he was great. I also have a sort of a love-hate one with Martin Allen. So a lot of Martin Allen is called Mad Dog, crazy player back in the days, and even a crazy manager. So me and him are like father and son, hate and love relationship, because he just knew what to get the best out of me and how he did it. People might have thought it was a bit mean, whatever some of the stuff he did, but deep down it was about, because he knew what I had in the locker to produce for the team, and what he did, it produced for the team until I unfortunately got injured that year when I was under him. But he was another great guy, and I've got fond memories with him as well.
You had a stint at Sheffield Wednesday, which you probably wouldn't say was a success, but there was obviously one big moment, and the fans still talk about it to this day. And the videos still come around on Facebook every now and then. Your first touch of the ball coming off the bench in your debut game against their bitter rivals, Sheffield United. Set the scene for us. What was that feeling for yourself and obviously 40,000 fans?
Yeah, I was actually signed for Sheffield Wednesday injured, so I left Brentford on a Bosman. We lost a playoff final to Stoke, and I got injured against. I had a bad knee. My knee was done, so I had an operation in the summer of that year, 2002. Had the operation, but Sheffield Wednesday they knew I was having an operation, so I went in there half cooked. I wasn't right, but I've done my pre-season, done my rehab, took my time, but it was weird because actually I had a dream. I was in the change room. I was in the gym. Bumping weights. I said, when's the game? Go playing Sheffield United in about 2-3 weeks. It was whenever. And I said, I've had a job. I'm going to make my comeback. And they were like, shut up. And I said, I'm going to score my first touch. I remember my mate Paul McMahon was like, no way, no. So anyway, obviously, 3 weeks later, I'm back to a bit of fitness, and the gaffer says, "Lloyd, how you feel?" So yeah, I'm okay, gaffer. He goes, "Look, I'm going to put you on the bench. Whether you get on, I don't know." So I was happy to be part of. Because over the years as a kid, you see the Sheffield Derby. It's like one of the biggest derbies still in this country. It's just massive. They even close the city. That's how big it is. They close the shops down on a Sunday. It's just so big. So on the bench watching the game, an even game, and Sheffield United were a good team at the time. And then then my time come. Gaffer called me up. I was warming up, called me, go, "Owusu, come." So we're going on. I was like, "Yeah, ready. I'm ready." And then within a minute, coming on, first touch, crossbar, bounce down, bang, header. It's weird because if you see the celebration on YouTube, you actually see me saying, "What the effing did I tell you? What did I tell you?" Yeah, that was just void of over stuff. And look, with Sheffield Wednesday, I should have gone there and really had a great time there. But again, we didn't do so well as a team. And then obviously new management comes in. They don't like your flavour, so they want to get their own people in. So it was a bit of a subdued, bit of sweet end there because I signed a 3-year deal, a good contract as well. I was only ended up there I was there for about 16 months in the end. But luckily for myself, they've been relegated already from the Prem to the Championship when I signed, and then that following season we got relegated to League One. So I was like, I always wanted to. My whole aim was obviously to get back to the Championship and take the Premiership if I can. But luckily, Reading coming for me to go back to the Championship. So yeah, it sort of ended up okay. But I should have done it. My Sheffield Wednesday stint should have been better than what it did.
You touched on obviously the derby. How do you think that rates compared to your North London derby, your Manchester derby, your Merseyside derby, which get talked about all the time, and obviously because they're Premier League teams that are playing against each other. Yeah. Where do you think it ranks in the UK?
Honestly, I still think it would be if you look at derbies per se in England in regards to, and when I say derby, I'm talking proper derbies like Sheffield, North London, Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton. They're proper. I would honestly say top 5 in regards of that wholeness of the real how it splits the divides the town, the city. That's how big it was. And it's like I say, they closed the city down for a game. They closed the city down because they know the hooligans just back in them days. It was crazy, some crazy hooligans. The BBC, the Business Blaze crew, and what was that? Sheffield Wednesday. The Business Blaze crew was the Sheffield United, and Owls Crime Squad. Yeah, and the Owls Crime Squad they were called. So yeah, crazy times.
Yeah, I might be one to put on the bucket list, Adam. Don't worry about your Merseyside derbies. We'll go Let's go to the Sheffield Derby. You've touched on it a few times. You've had quite a few injuries throughout your career. How did you handle that yourself? And now, obviously, you're in similar to like a mentor role at the moment. How do you pass that information on to the younger generation
Yeah,
on how to handle it?
Myself, Steve, during my actual playing career, the actual seasons, I didn't sustain too many injuries, especially early doors anyway. I had the odd little niggles, but I would like to say my first ever season, I played every single game. I had a couple of injuries, but I sort of nothing major. Then I had a couple of shoulder surgeries here and there, but I went out for like long time. My main injuries were until I ruptured my groin, which was 2006, just before the World Cup that year, when I ended up being out for a year. And obviously my other long injuries when I signed for Adelaide United. So I had a knee operation. I thought I was going in for just a normal meniscus, and then when I woke up, the surgeon told me, "We've got some bad news for you. I've had to do microfracture." And I was like, "What's microfracture?" He said, "Oh, it's where you have to drill holes in to try and stimulate blood cells, blah blah blah." And I said, "Oh, okay. What, 2-3 months ago?" Well, no, more like maximum 12 months. You know what I mean? 9 to 12 months. Like, oh, cheers. But,
Jesus.
yeah, but like I say, mentally, the groin one though was quite tough because I was flying. The thing when I at Brentford that 2005-2006 season, I was absolutely flying, and then we were flying as a club, flying as individually playing. I was just scoring goals, setting up goals. The World Cup was in the back, wasn't really in my mind, but I knew it was around the corner. Could I get selected? Potentially yes, because I knew I was playing well. And then when it happened, it was just a killer because I knew it was going to be a long process. However, if a lot of people don't know this, so when I done the original injury, I went to go and see a surgeon. The club told me to go and see a surgeon, but I went to go and see my own surgeon. They said, "No, you have to see the club this one." I went to go and see this club one, and look, give and take with him. So what it was, I ruptured the bone off the bone 1.4 mils it was. But they said anything over 1.5, then it's a straight surgery, and then you could be back in a couple of months. I was at 1.4, but I said, "Sir, doc, just let me just do that." He goes, "No, it's 1.4. We'll just do rehab and you'll come back." Blah blah. Again, it wasn't getting better. So now the time has gone, and in the end, by this time now the World Cup had sort of gone, and then when I was going to see, I ended up having an operation with this guy, and then it just wasn't right. And then I went to go and see the original guy that I was going to see, Dr. Gilmore, and he said, "Oh Lord, if you'd seen me before, you would have probably made it for the World Cup." So it's like, but it was what it was, and luckily for myself, I've managed to go out to Germany. Ghana FA sent me out to Germany, watch a few games with the boys. It was nice, but it would have just been better if I was playing out there, man. Like I said, I was on fire. Fire.
If we trickle down back to you said your boyhood club and your favourite club, Brentford. You're one of 69 inductees into the Hall of Fame there. After 6 years at that club, how did it feel to get that news?
It was unbelievable. I didn't even realise Brentford even had a Hall of Fame. Didn't even know. Honestly, didn't even know. And then I remember back in, I think about 2015, I got a phone call from Peter Gillam, who's Mr. Brentford, who's still there now. He's been there like 55 years. He made now, "Sir Lloyd, we've been nominated to go in the Hall of Fame." I was like, "Wow, have I?" And like he says, "Oh, we heard that you're actually coming back to you're going to be in the UK." And I said, "Yeah, I am. I'm going to be back in I think it was over the Christmas period, but in January time." He says, "Look, because you're going to be back, we'd love to do it live. We've got a live game against Nottingham Forest. We want to do it on the pitch." I was like, "Wow, okay." So yeah, I got there and they put me on the pitch, paraded me to the fans, told me I was in the Hall of Fame, and I was just like, "Oh, it's just a surreal moment." Nothing that didn't even expect it. But I think when you look at the criteria of how you get in the Hall of Fame, based on the players, obviously what they may have won, what they've scored. But I think from my perspective, it's because the fans knew that Owusu would give 110%. If he's even having a bad game, not scoring, he would just wear his heart on his sleeve and just play hard for that club. And I think that's one of the reasons why I got into the Hall of Fame.
Would you say that's your greatest achievement in football, being inducted in?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a great thing. But again, I would never even thought I would have even got into the Hall of Fame. But I think my greatest achievement was obviously to turn pro. That's every kid's dream, you know what I mean, to become a professional footballer. So that was probably my greatest achievement. And then obviously to score a winning goal as well, to win the championship was obviously a great time as well.
Are
You
there
changed everything in the first couple of years. Sorry.
no, are there opportunities to do things with Brentford and stuff now? Do you have any things like in ambassador roles or anything like that that you have ties with?
Yeah, so I still keep in contact with. So Marcus Gale, who's actually an ex-teammate of mine, and he's a great player. He's played for Wimbledon back in the crazy gang back in the days, and then he was at Rangers in Glasgow. And he's ambassador now, so I still keep in contact with him. So I still get my perks if I want tickets to the floor. So I can't go because I'm all over here, but with friends and family to go over. But yeah, I was actually going to do. I've done a bit of I wouldn't say off the record, but some scouting for them. Or they've always contacted me if they've heard about certain players. But I think I might look to revisit again, actually get into a scouting mission for them over this side of the world. Because obviously, look, as you probably know, a lot of Aussie boys have gone over now, Portsmouth and etc. A lot in Scotland. So, since if I can find some unearthed gems here, and they've got the passport and everything, why not? You know what I mean? Help them out with Brentford.
100%. Why not? I think you may have gone over there pretty recently, have you? You would have, obviously, with the current players, you may have met with the previous manager, now obviously with Spurs. Can you give us a bit of an insight, if obviously you know much about him, what he's like and what Spurs might be in for?
Right, to be fair, it actually reminded me a lot of Steve Coppell. Very, very man's man, like man to man, father figure to the players. You know, very open, very honest. He was, from what I saw, very methodical. Training was very good, and like I say, all the players there really respected him. So what he'd done for the club for the 7, 8, 9 years he was there, fantastic. Obviously, fair play to him. He's got his opportunity to coach a bigger club than Brentford, which is Tottenham, and I wish him all the best. But he's done well he did very well for what he did for them in that space of time.
A bit on your time in Australia. Obviously, your first stint here, 2009, didn't go as planned. You got here. I think you got sick the first season. Yeah. Second season, you mentioned you had your knee injury. I think it was. You're back, obviously doing different things now. How did the opportunity come back to Australia?
To be fair, look, no disrespect to Australian football, especially at the time anyway. I actually got in contact with Steve McMahon was manager of Perth Glory back in 2005. And I was at Reading, already playing championship. And I was like, hey, what's the A? I didn't even know nothing about the A-League. So I said, no, Steve, I'm okay. I'm enjoying myself anyway. Fast forward 4 years later, I'm at Brighton, on loan at Brighton, having a great seat last 2 months there. I'm in the changing room now. My phone, I'm getting some treatments, getting rubbed down. My phone rings. Answer the phone. I said, hello. He says, this is Richie Hinton here. I'm an agent in Australia. There's a team called Adelaide United keen for you. And I'm like, I'm looking at one of my teams. I'm like, what's that? He goes, I said, no, I'm all right, man. Not too. I said, no, look, I'm all right. I'm going to stay in England, blah, blah. So they put the phone down. And then Malcolm, who was a physio, he overheard the conversation. He goes, Lloyd, what was that about Australia? I said, some agent from Australia. So some A-League team want me, called Adelaide United. He went, you remember Paul Reed who used to play here? I said, I know Reedy. He goes, yeah, he's out there. I said, well, I'll give you his number. I said, okay, fair. So I thought, why not? Called Reedy that night. I called Reedy up, and he called me. I said, Paul, Lloyd Owusu here, how you doing, blah, blah. I said, I just had a phone call from some guy called Richie in, and he goes, that's my agent as well. I said, is it? He says, Adelaide, your team are quite keen on me. He goes, so he gave me a little brief on him. So I thought, I said, okay. The way he really sold it to me, I was like, interesting, all right. So I called back the agent. I said, I've spoken to Paul Reed. I said, if the club's interested, let them fly me out to have a look. Because obviously I'm not going to go blind, you know what I mean? So he came back to me back now and he goes, they're willing to fly you over at the end of the season to have a look. I thought, okay, fair enough. So no, he flew out here. And at the time, my kid's mum, her father lived in Brentford Hall, and she hadn't seen him for many a year. So we sort of killed two birds with one stone. I flew out firstly, and no word of a lie, right? I swear, guys, when I got there, right, I got to the airport, well, I felt like I was a star. When I got off the plane, right, paparazzi, Channel 7, Channel 9. I'm like, hold on, I didn't even sign, I just come to have a look. They're trying to get in my face, I'm like, they're all talking to me. And then they dropped me to the hotel, place in an area called Ghanaian, which is beautiful. Took me to the best restaurants. I'm like, wow. I said, I'm liking a bit of this, and then obviously I'm feeling the sun. We got off the plane. This is like in June. This is like feeling good now. So anyway, got there, had a look around, and then what killed it? Anyway, got there. I said, mind you, I'm only coming to have a look. I'm not looking to train. I've had a long season. I just want to come and have a look, see what it's about, see if I've got that feel for it. So then the agent called me and said, "Oh, Lloyd, they want to see you train." I said, "What do you mean they've seen all my highlights? I just had it's a 9 now." So I called my mentor. I got a mentor called Danny Bain. I said, "Dan, this team in Australia tell me they want me to train." I said, "If they want to sign me, they've seen what I'm all about." He goes, "No, just do it." I'm like, "Okay." Anyway, no word of a lie, right? So I really admire the gaffer. So I call for all the boys: Scott Jamison, Robert Cornway, Travis Dodd, Lucas Pantelis, Cristiano, Cassie. I'll meet all these boys. "Oh, nice, how you doing?" Blah blah. So I come and do this training session, and we've done a 4-4-2 setup. So me and Cristiano up top, and it was Robert. It was Fifey and Robert Cornway's marking me. I swear, no, boys, I tell you, when I say I twisted man's up, man, I twisted man's up, yeah. And as soon as I finish the training session, the agent phones me. He goes, "They want to sign you now." I said, "I know." Absolutely killed it. So they went back to Perth to see the exes there, and then the agent called me and goes, "Oh, they want to sign you. They need an answer." I was like, "Look, I've got a few offers in England as well." I'm looking, obviously, because I was looking for a 2-year deal. Because what happened at Brighton, I wanted to stay at Brighton. So Brighton were only offering me a 1-year deal on good money. I said to the gaffer, "Gaffer, give me 2 years. I'm getting old. I want at least some stability on less money." He was like, "Oh, no, I can't." So I ended up going back to the agent. "Look, if they after that training session, because I knew, because now I thought I've got a bit of credit." And I said, "Look, they come back with a bit more. I'm their man." So he phones me back and goes, "Yeah, they're happy with them figures." I'm like, "Okay, good. Tell them I'm their man, yeah." So anyway, I can't get everything back. All the paperwork gets through. I get signed up, and I fly back out in about, I think, 2-3 weeks later. So excuse me. I fly back about 2-3 weeks later, and then when I fly back in again, so now getting back to Australia, flying through, and I remember, so obviously it was gentle. That swine flu pandemic was sort of just slowly building. We sort of had to come from China, blah blah. I remember I was on a plane. I'm in business class now, and I remember this woman. She was just coughing up the place. She was coughing. It was right behind me. I obviously didn't think nothing of it. Anyway, got to Australia, landed. First week, just settled in a bit. And then I started to get sick. I started to get a bit fluey and stuff. And I was getting a bit tired and everything. I said to the doctor, "Doc, I'm getting a bit tired." I said, "I think I've got this swine flu." He goes, "No, you haven't got. You wouldn't have swine. You'd be a bit more." Anyway, you know when you get cold and flu, you know you get better after 2-3 days. Yeah, I weren't getting better after a week. I went back to the doctor and said, "Doc, look, it's a week now. I'm getting sweats on a bit." He goes, "No, you'll be okay." He goes, "Okay, what we do? Let's just do an X-ray on your chest and see what's happening." I said, "No, Doc, give me the swine flu." He goes, "No, you don't need to." So anyway, by this time now I've been interacting with a couple of players quite a bit. So with Scott Jamison and Rob Cornway, I have this X-ray on my chest. Comes back and says, "I've got pneumonia." So the doctor says, "I told you, you've really got pneumonia." I said, "No, Doc, I'm just getting sort of hot and sweaty." So a week later, they decided to do a swine flu test. What happens? Comes back positive. After all this time. So obviously by this time now Corny, so Rob Cornway ends up getting it as well, because I was with him a lot. He then taking me out for dinners quite a lot. So I knew about quarantine before people knew about quarantine, man. So yeah.
Your experience.
2 weeks. I was in quarantine for 2 weeks in my beach house apartment in Henley Beach. I remember they used to leave all my food outside the door. And then I just wasn't getting better. And then when I started to get, obviously, slowly coming back to fitness, or I wouldn't say fitness, just slowly coming back to sort of train, it hit you. It's like something that you never had before. Like, we've probably all had the COVID, but even then, it was just worse than that. I was just lethargic and tired. And because I was the main player, the new signing, Gaffer wanted obviously to get me back in the team quickly. They sort of rushed me back, and I was just never the same player. So, from my experience in the A-League, no disrespect to it, after what I'd done in the so-called trial they want to call it, if you want to call it, and having a great season at Brighton, A-League, I should have smashed it. I should have smashed the A-League, but unfortunately, I was just never fit enough. And you can't, as you can probably imagine, as a pro, you can't play catch-up. When you miss a pre-season, you can't catch up.
Yeah.
You just can't catch up. So I was always on the back burner, just nothing materialised. Then they started to play, obviously, and that's the other thing I thought to say. So when I came to train that time, we did the 4-4-2, because that's my game. I'm down the channels, balls in the box, headers, blah blah, hold up play. But when I got into the team, the Gaffer's playing is 4-3-3, but it was really 4-5-1. You know that old Australian way back in days, 4 build up, play from the back slowly. So every time the ball would come up to me, I've got 2 defenders around me. The rest of the team waiting, and it just never It's never worked. And then it made me look like a bad player. But it was only because of the way the system. So I always say that the club get a player for the player's strength. You know what I mean? Not for the club's strength, it's for the player's strength. You get paid for how the player can bring to the table. But yeah, it still pulled that way, and then unfortunately everything sort of went backwards from that day. But luckily, look, I'm here to tell the tale, so I'm in a great country and I can't complain at all.
We're gonna have to find out who that doctor is.
Dr. Illich. He's a great guy though, Dr. Illich. He's still there now. He's still at Manchester United now. He's a top lad. So like, he's just off this thing. He just thought it was just a normal cold. And yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about what you're doing at the moment in Australia?
So now I work at one of the top private schools in the country, Cranbrook. Top private boys' schools. We're actually going co-ed next year. And I actually got there by sort of, not default, to be fair. I was there just as a regular casual coach. Went there as a casual coach, had a good team at the time, under the year 10 team when I first took over back in 2017. So I was casually coaching there. But it's weird because then after training, I used to just walk around the school, just going up some lunch or whatever. But all the boys all know who I was. They knew ex-footballer, being from London, all these youngsters, they love that sort of scene, you know what I mean? So the headmaster at the time, Mr. Sampson, he said to the head of the senior school, "Oh, who's that gentleman I see walking around? All the boys seem to be gravitating to him here." He said, "That's Mr. Owusu, ex-footballer, blah, blah." He goes, "Oh, I like his synergy, I like his energy." He goes, "Call him in, I want to have a meeting with him." Like, I went in, called me in for this meeting. He goes, "How you doing? I'm Mr. Head Sampson, blah, blah, blah." He says, "Look, I like the way you're around the place." He goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm just a casual coach, sir." He says, "Oh, well, we've got a role here at the school. We call it General Duties Master. A lot of other private schools have it where they have sergeant majors where you're sort of in control of all the boys' disciplines, attitude, appearance, and behaviours." Because I think the way I see the boys with you, there's sort of there's a miss, there's a link. You could be that link between the boys and the teachers. So I was like, you know what? It's right up my street. So yeah, let's give it a little trial process. Done the trial process. I've been there 8 years later, and now I'm sort of done, like head of discipline and everything, and I still do a bit of football, but my main role is the discipline. So I love it. Like, so I'm that middleman between the boys and teachers, a bit of a mentor, big brother, someone that the boys can relate to. You know what I mean? I relate to. So that's what makes my job so easy. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
It's good how opportunities just present themselves, right? You got to take them when they come.
Oh, you have to.
So good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a lot of schools should actually have that. It's quite an awesome role.
Lloydie, we're gonna try something new out where it's first time doing it. I thought we'll start off with you. We're gonna do a bit of rapid fire questions.
Yep.
We'll run through. So we've got a couple here for you. All right, we'll kick it off. Best player you've ever played with?
See, I've played with some great players like Michael Essien and Suleiman Tiba. I always say this when I'm on podcasts. There's a guy in my team called Gavin Mann, and reason you might not have heard of him, but he would end up being captain for QPR Watford because I saw him day in and day out in training and what he brought to the table, his technical ability, his aggression, his skill factor, everything. He just had everything to look for a midfielder. So although he's not a household name, but technically for what I saw day in and day out, he was the best player I played with.
Toughest defender you've ever faced?
Cole Campbell and Sylvian Distan, two absolute animals. Remember, played Portsmouth in the pre-season game, and I'll tell you what, them two were like brick wall. Like the stuff it's what they've done off the ball.
Yeah.
They've done to strikers off the ball, and you wonder, they're just one step ahead of you. Like they'll be tread on your toes, little cheeky elbow in the head or in the midsection. Just solid. They were so tough.
Your favourite stadium you've ever played in?
Good one. Oh man, I'd have to probably say the Millennium Stadium or St James's Park.
Boots of choice back in the day.
So back in the day, I would say so when I first turned pro, I got a pair of Val Sports. I got Val Sports. Then I was wearing Puma Kings. But then in the latter stage, of my career, I just ended up being a Nike. And then obviously coming to Australia, which was really nice. I actually got a boot sponsor through Nike. So a lot of us foreigners used to get the boot sponsor through Nike. So the Nikes were always a nice fit.
Nice. Best part of being a professional footballer?
Just team camaraderie, you know. So there's nothing beats waking up in the morning, getting to the training ground, having pure banter with boys day in and day out. And like so you actually spend more time with them than your family, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then it's just I miss that team camaraderie. Just people winding each other up. Obviously, you have your arguments here and there, but there's real love. There's a real love and respect around the place, and I do miss that.
I thought you were going to say the paparazzi at the airport. And if you weren't a footballer, what do you reckon you'd be?
That's all. Yeah, I always saw myself as a bit of a dancer. I like to be like a little bit of room. So yeah, to me, I was a DJ. To be fair,
Really?
I used to DJ back in the day. So I would probably say if I continued operating, to be fair, if no for because of being a footballer, if I'd continued back in the day, I would have been probably a big DJ by now. But I'd say a DJ.
Yeah, right.
You're probably doing a school discos now.
Oh, well, we mentioned at the beginning before we started recording, it's a favourite segment for us. It's Coach's Son nomination. So, Lloyd, who's your coach's son? So we mentioned it could be a jokester, someone in the change room you had a good laugh with, anyone throughout your whole career.
Yeah, the coach's son, I would say, out of my whole career, I would have to say would be a player called Kev O'Connor. And till this day still, he's still at Brentford.
Really?
Oh, okay.
So imagine I was at Brentford in '98, and he's still at Brentford now. So that's
Jesus,
what's he doing at Brentford?
He's second assistant. He's second assistant.
Wow.
Yeah, great lad. He was a youth. So when I was there, he was a youth team player coming through the ranks. A natural goal scorer. He was a prolific goal scorer. But he ended up playing right back. It was unbelievable. He ended up playing right back all the rest of his career. Had a great career at Brentford. I think he's the second or third leading all-time appearance holder, and he's one man club, and he took over the B team back in the days of the youth team, and now he's been up there with the big boys as second assistant, and so I would have to say Kev's got to be, because every manager he's still there,
Yeah.
like through, so every manager there must be something about it, so that's why I say he's got to be the coach's son. Serious.
There you go. We're going to have to get him on.
Yeah.
You'll probably have some stories.
And you can share it with all the Brentford boys now.
Yeah.
We'll get them on next. Perfect, Lloyd. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on and all your stories. Everyone, thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week for another episode. We're wrapping it up with Lloyd here on The Coach's Son.
Thanks
so much.
Lloyd. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
This was not meant to happen. This could not happen.